Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in this evening. And once again, we are back with our Tuesday Talkies. Some of you joined in for part one of Tuesday Talkies, where we were actually talking about some popular study destinations. And we were trying to threadbare between Anjali and I how they add value and how do we go about applying to those places, how are they differentiated, and so much more. Today, I think we decided to cover part two, which is about not so popular study destinations. And depending on the kind of work you do, it also may be something that you're already familiar with, or maybe something absolutely alien for you. So either way, we're just hoping to make this an exciting and more interactive program for you today between Avinav and I. So can we move to the next slide, Avinav? So today we are covering
these are the countries.
Yeah, these are the countries. We are covering Malaysia, Norway, UAE, Ireland, Japan, South Korea. And believe you me, as Avinav and I were going through this listing, we both realized that each of these countries is a presentation in itself. So frankly speaking, to actually squeeze this into a 45-minute to an hour-long presentation has been a humongous task for both of us. But we'll try to do our best. And so that by the end of it, you obviously have a lot of inputs and you can then do your own research. So before we jump into each of these countries, I just want to run a quick question in the chat box. I know that since morning, Avinav has been quizzing you like crazy, and some of you have truly participated in that quiz very actively. So this is not a quiz really, but this is more for you to do some bit of guesswork. So if I ask you, can you move to the next slide, Avinav? If I ask you, in Malaysia, how many Indian students do you think study in Malaysia? Let's see in the chat box. Okay, now you. I keep on saying chat bot. It's chat box. Yeah.
Yeah, I can put the question as well. Hold on, I'll just type it. Yeah, I'll just type it as well.
How many Indian students study? Yeah, go ahead.
So
take a wild guess. 10,000 K, Harish says. Harish, you're like the fastest finger first always. Yeah. Okay, 2 to 5,000 says Vartika. All right, Prabha says 7,000. All right. Okay. Let's move to Norway. How many Indian students do you think study in Norway? Quickly. 2,000. No, we're moving to Norway now. Everybody.
I'm catching up with Malaysia still, but anyways. 2,000 in Norway, 2,000 in Malaysia.
Okay. 25,000 is Nidhi. Okay, Norway. You wish. You wish, Nidhi. Okay. Nidhi is going to send definitely many students to Norway. I can see that. All right. UAE. How many students do you think study in UAE? Indian students in UAE. Dubai is a very popular study destination. Okay.
how do you say
You
zero?
can be liberal. It is zero. No way. So it's not zero, and that's the reason these countries are on this presentation, because these countries are slowly gaining in traction. 1 lakh plus says Jitin sir. Oh my God. So you'll be surprised to know the numbers. Okay. 13,400 says Ravi. Very precise. Huh? Approximately 2 lakh in UAE. Again, Raksha, you wish. We'll see. Okay, let's see Ireland. How many students do you think study in Ireland? Let's move to Ireland quickly. 1,000 says Harish. Okay. Approximately 7,000 says Niru. 5,000. 10,000 Jitin sir. Raksha says 6,000. Okay. Stop now. Let's move to Japan quickly. You all are going to be very surprised with just the next slide. I think, Avina, we have a lot of surprises in store for all of them.
Yeah, Manan
Let's
Talwar
see,
is
Japan.
6,000 for Ireland. Very good guess. Manan Talwar 6,000 for Ireland.
Japan says,
Yeah,
okay, 6,000, 2,000, 1,000 for Japan. Okay.
as it's
All
like
right.
bids. People are putting bids 1,000, 5,000, 10,000.
If this was something else going on here. All right, let's move to South Korea. South Korea, how many? By the way, last year I sent a student to Japan already, and now this year suddenly the South Korea trend is picking up, and it's not just BTS there. By the way, there are so many other interesting course options and everything else happening there. 1,500 for South Korea. Okay, I think Abhinav, let's give it to them. Let's show them the next slide. So these are the number of students, and you can check yourself. Yes, please move to the next slide.
Hold on. Yes, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. So what you can clearly see is that, and whoever said, for example, 1 lakh plus in UAE, obviously you're saying this out of your own understanding that UAE is gaining in prominence. And the reason that, we feel that in certain countries there should have been more Indian students is because actually they're trying to do some really meaningful work there. There are also some interesting collaborations happening. And all in all, these countries are definitely worth going to. And you'll truly figure out today why do we say that. Let's move to this understanding one by one. So I think for the sake of today's presentation, we are going to first take you through a slight geography lesson where we want to actually tell you what is where and just give you a sense of, what kind of currency and what setting these countries are in, and then move into their academic structure as such. So very quickly running you through the countries, we start first with Malaysia. And in Malaysia itself today, next slide, Avina.
See, the Google slide just gets frozen sometimes.
Okay. So as you can see, Malaysia, you can just quickly click on the bullet points. So we all know that it is a Southeast Asian country with diverse cultures and ethnicities. It is also Kuala Lumpur is the capital. It's the largest city. What we also know is a bit of trivia around, the fact that it is it's very rich on biodiversity, and actually it's really easy on your pocket to be studying at Malaysia. In fact, its highest ranked and oldest university in Malaysia is the University Malaya, which is ranked 59th in the QS World Ranking, if some of you don't know. Yeah, and in fact, as Avinav was telling you, there are certain universities set inside a rainforest itself, so which is pretty cool. Let's look at Norway. So we know that Norway, whenever we think of Norway, we think of the Northern Lights. We also think of a lot of cold. So that's this white line that you see right next to Sweden on the left side. That is Norway actually. So it's really icy and cold. But as they say that, there is no such thing as bad weather in Norway, only bad clothing. So the idea is it's a Scandinavian country encompassing mountains, glaciers. And so one needs to obviously enjoy that space also to be studying here. There are some pros and cons. We'll take you through that quickly. Talking of UAE University is, as you know, there are certain public universities, very few actually, 2-3 public universities, but most of the universities in UAE are private universities. Abu Dhabi is, of course, the capital. Official language is Arabic, and then you have the dirham, which is a strong 22 rupees. And so because of that reason, I think it is gaining a lot of traction. More and more students are getting attracted. More and more families are settling down in UAE also, because it's also somewhat of a tax haven. You do enjoy you get to keep what you earn basically. And
yeah, absolutely.
then
and
of course,
most importantly, Harish is there in UAE, flag bearer.
The flag bearer, actually. We have many flag bearers, but yes, one day like I said, each of these countries they are a presentation in itself, So therefore, at some point in time, maybe we will actually pick your brain on this, Harish, and get you to also present on this. Ireland, of course, I think some of us are very familiar with Ireland. We've been dealing with universities like PCD, UCD, Limerick, and others. And we also know that it's it's maybe the head office of Google is there, and so many other top companies are rest there. And it's of course it is an island country. Dublin is the official language, but at the same time, most programs are taught in English. And the currency is euro mostly, which is again a strong currency for now. And to Japan, it's easily one of those spaces which it's on my bucket list for sure. When everyone needs to visit Japan once, and especially after we hear about such beautiful concepts of sustainability and the entire organic culture within Japan. But Japan is once again slowly gaining in traction. In fact, last year I had a student moving to the Asia Pacific University, Ritsumaken, and the student was deeply happy because very wellness focused at most of the universities in Japan. And even South Korea, where we know that all K-pop stars emerged from there. But at the same time, what we need to understand is South Korea also is today gaining a lot of political clout, and therefore, it is a place where again it's seen as a melting pot of a number of cultures, and they are welcoming a number of international students today. As you saw the numbers, they're slowly increasing to 5,000 plus, and before you know it, you will see a very large population moving to South Korea and other countries. Now, my question to you, Avinav, before I hand it over to you, I think it's my duty to introduce you to this group, because I know some of them know you as a thought leader, and but I must, I think, formally introduce you, because last time I got a formal introduction from Nidhi. And for those of you, by the way, who don't know me, I'm the founder director of University Connection. So you can check us out at universityconnection.in. But my friend here, Abhinav, is the head of strategy at MSM Unify. He has been at the forefront of education industry's evolution. And what I love about him is that he is totally involved in executing growth strategies, optimizing institutional partnerships, and pioneering innovations that have proven transformative for educational ecosystems on both a national and international scale. So in fact, Avinav has marked his presence at some of Europe's most prestigious educational events, like he was recently at the EAIE 2023 conference in Rotterdam in Netherlands, followed by the ICEF Higher Education Conference in Amsterdam. And some of us saw his pictures and we were very envious of you, Avinav. But he not only attended these conferences, I know for sure that he was very much a part of the in-depth discussions that happened there with policy leaders or academicians. And he was obviously on a number of online learning platforms, and he has been defining these learning trends. And so we know that his perspectives are very well received. And in fact, I know that Avinav, you also took in September, October, you took an extensive journey across these multiple European countries, right? And this, I think, has definitely added to your knowledge base. And today we're going to hear all of that. So without further ado, I want to ask you this question. Why do you think Indian students are getting attracted to these countries? What makes it so special? What's going on here?
See, absolutely. So first of all,
you want to cover this?
Yeah. Yes, I'll just merge it, Charu. So first of all, thank you so much, Charu, for that lovely introduction. I'm so humbled, and I am so happy to see these 37 participants, including us, who have taken out the precious time for this session. And Charu and I will definitely ensure that the next 40 to 50 minutes are definitely the worth of your time, and you will learn something very new. I can assure you that. For sure. So as Charu, you mentioned, and you started the presentation at the right note, because if you see from the responses that we got in the chat box, so people, they have put those numbers 2,000, 6,000, not by random, even if they have been by random standards, at least they are confident in their minds that there are students from India going in good numbers to these countries. Otherwise, we would have ended up with like a 10 or a 50 or a 60. So definitely what we definitely can comment that these countries are there. There is no reason to undermine the strength of these countries as upcoming education destinations. And there are multiple factors and facts, some of them which I have been sharing in the main TLC community WhatsApp group for some days now. So the fundamental reason that why, if I'm an Indian student and if I'm looking to study in these 6 countries, first of all, what I'll see is the economy and other factors around the academia, which will play a significant role in deciding that why I even will choose, let's say, Japan as my study destination. Now, why I always put economy first before I choose the academia is because, see, in academia, you'll spend 3 or 4 years, okay? But in the economy, which is directly proportional to your employment, to your growth, to your entrepreneurial spirits, that's the next 30 to 40 years, okay? So this is a very important point that I always tell budding counselors or young counselors, because I've been counseling for entire my life so far, and in the last 13 years, probably I have touched base with 40,000 plus students and across 45 different countries. So one thing that is fundamental in any counseling, when I started way back, is that students, they always miss on the employment aspect. They are bent on academic standards, but they do not go by the employment standards. So as I always see employment as a very crucial part, even if you want to go the entrepreneurial route. And for that, understanding an economy of a country is very important. And that's why, in a concise manner, I have listed down the strengths of each country in terms of their economic factors. So let's say if I pick Malaysia, I've been to Malaysia multiple times, and the best thing that I see is Malaysia has the best highway and road network in entire Southeast Asia. It's officially vetted and proven. It's a developing economy with the manufacturing and tourism as the largest industry. And then fundamentally, uh, what happens usually is that when you have manufacturing and tourism as your main industries, you are ultimately inviting students in these study areas. Okay. And if you see e-gaming, so we all know the Gen Zs, we know the millennials. I still call myself a Gen Z. Okay, so no comments on that. So when these kids, they come for counseling, they always ask for study programs that are based on the upcoming study fields, which will be valid for the next 5 to 10 years. So e-gaming is one of the part that is being driven through manufacturing and tourism segments in Malaysia. So Malaysia is a hub for e-gaming, and they are driving education tourism into that. Norway, very high income mixed economy, one of the best education systems in the world, and Norway has one of the biggest oil rigs in the world. So definitely any student who is interested for petroleum engineering, for gas engineering, for chemical engineering, the best educational exposure out there and one of the best pay scales in the world. United Arab Emirates, we all know. General knowledge question, probably some other time. Somebody who can write all 7 Emirates of UAE, okay, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, Sharjah, two are left, you can write in the chat box. So very high income mixed economy, and it used to be highly focused on oil and gas production, but now, as we all see and we all know firsthand, they have moved from an oil based economy to a tourism based economy, and now they are moving to a fintech based economy. So in the coming times, you will see a lot of, there are already major investment banks in Dubai, but then you will see it competing with Monaco, with competing with Macau, with Hong Kong. You'll see a lot of changes coming in UAE in that aspect. Then next, Ireland. So I'll give you one very good example from your daily lives, all of you, all 37 who are here. So when you buy an electronic gadget, let's say you buy an iPhone, you buy a washing machine, you buy a geyser, you get a small booklet, a safety instruction booklet or a warranty booklet or a guide how to operate this. And most of the times we throw it in the dustbin because it's a lengthy document, 60 pages, sometimes 90 pages, written in multiple languages. Ireland is the country where world's most safety guideline books are written. Okay, so when the product is made in China, but the booklet is being written in Ireland, and then it is being used and shipped in India. Ireland is the world's localization capital. So let's say if I made a software, if I'm Google, I made a software in English, but I want to run this software in 150 countries of the world. I need it in German, I need it in Norwegian, I need it in French, I need it in Spanish, Portuguese. I'll go to Ireland. There is no other country in the world that can translate softwares with that excellence. That is Ireland. Okay. Japan, Shinkansen, they invented the bullet train in 1964. In 1964, they were traveling at 480 kilometers per hour. Okay. So a lot to learn from them, and it's a mixed economy. It is, I mean, it will be injustice to just put it to just two industries, but definitely manufacturing and technology, and they are the founders, inventors of many things. Robotics, any student who is interested for core robotics engineering, Japan. South Korea. So you have Hyundai, you have Samsung, and Samsung, we all know they are from electronics, but do you know the maximum revenue of Samsung does not come from electronics? It comes from shipping, because Samsung is one of the world's biggest shipping company. So when you see a Samsung ship, not just a Samsung mobile, that's when you know that your knowledge needs an update, because these companies, they are massive, not just in the way they look, but at the background. So very high income, again, mixed economy with a very major focus on manufacturing and technology. Tiny country, probably tiny than one of our small states down south in like Kerala, but massive GDP. So you asked Charu that if I'm an Indian student, I'll take everything. Let's say if I'm practically confused about these 6 countries, then why should I even decide? Okay. Okay. So yeah, now it always gets to Google Slides. See, for Malaysia, as I mentioned, so Malaysia is one of the best destinations in the world if you want cost-effective education at the highest standard. So recently, one of the universities in Malaysia, Asia Pacific University, along with their University of Malaysia and University of Science Malaysia, they have been featured in the QS World Top 500 rankings. And Malaysia has a Vision 25. You just Google out Vision 25. So you'll see that Malaysia is coming on top as one of the biggest economies in the world and one of the most powerful economies in the world. Malaysia's passport is already one of the most powerful passports in the world. It's ranked top 10 in the world. And do you know how a passport index is calculated? So basically, the fundamental deciding factor is how many countries you can travel visa free or visa on arrival. So combine visa free plus visa on arrival, you get the passport index of a country, and Malaysia is in top 10. Norway, world class education, first hand experience. I can tell you from my experience, stunning natural scenery, a country of 50,000 islands. Even if you go to one island in every single day, you'll still probably end up 40 years just exploring 50,000 islands. Okay, land of northern lights, land of aurora, and unfortunately, it was a free country. I mean, there was no tuition fee at all for any student, international or domestic. But now the government has just recently in this year implemented a tuition fee strategy. So I'll discuss more about that when we go to tuition fee section. United Arab Emirates, cosmopolitan culture, a melting pot of more than 180 different nationalities of the world, modern infrastructure, tax-free salaries. So people from US and Canada, they are migrating to the UAE, selling their entire businesses and stakes in these developed nations and moving to UAE because of all these benefits. And now UAE has a golden visa in place. Any student that you have who has a skill set which is unique, probably a very strong, talented athlete, musician, singer, dancer, performer, I'll recommend go try and look for golden visa to the UAE, which is a 10-year visa, gives you residence rights in UAE. Shah Rukh Khan has one, just giving you some motivation. So Ireland, I spoke about the technology giant Ireland. It has one of the most welcoming and inclusive culture, strong academic reputation, and one of in this group of 6 countries, one of the few countries that has very welcoming post-study work opportunities as well. Other countries do have, but then there are mix of conditions in them. Ireland has very straightforward post-study work opportunities, like we are used to in Canada or Australia. You study X number of years, Y number of years is your post-study work visa. So we will discuss that as well. So Japan, one of the best cultural heritages in the world, 18 different art forms, and the list goes on up to 50. So you see origami, you see this, and that I mentioned in the chat box today. Then bonsai is there, but then the culture with technology. So you have your culture in place, but then you are growing every day in technological aspects in Japan. Okay, very strong job market. And one of the good things about Japan, I'll just remove a myth is, so if you do not speak Japanese, obviously we don't speak Japanese much, you'll still survive in Tokyo, okay, in metropolitan Tokyo and these metropolitan cities. And again, I'm telling you from experience. But yes, if you go to very extreme rural areas in Japan, then definitely you'll need Japanese language. And that's true for any country in the world. If I'll go to extreme rural areas in India as well, and if I don't speak that native language, I'll face some struggles. But overall, if you are just good with English, you'll survive. Okay. And in most of the corporations in Japan, most of the communication is bilingual, so English and Japanese. But then definitely I recommend you to learn Japanese. South Korea has world-class universities. I'll show you the top 5 that feature in US World 500 rankings, cutting-edge technology. And I can quote multiple companies which we use in our daily lives, which come from South Korea. Hyundai and Samsung are two. So yes, So before I go deep dive into academic or English proficiency requirements, I thought that it will be very important. So I'll just tell you the need for this slide. So today's session is not just to tell you a superficial knowledge about these countries, but it's about telling you enough that you are in a position that tomorrow when a student is sitting in front of you or when the parents are sitting in front of you, you should be able to deliver a counseling session or information session that is I would say strong enough, or let's say in depth enough, so that those people or students are capable to make a decision about choosing one of these study destination. And even for you, it will give you enough, I would say, ammunition in your closet that you will be able to draw comparisons. There is a student asking that on one side there is Norway, on one side there is Germany, on one side there is UK. Which country do I choose? So you will be able to draw tables, to be honest, from this session, and you will be able to clearly come to a conclusion. And obviously, the decision rests with the student, but you will have factual information at your hands to make those decisions. Okay. So, Charu, I'll just run this slide, and then you can take our participants to an activity so that they don't get bored.
No, I don't think they're getting bored, Avina, because I can see so many amazing comments coming in the chat box. Someone is calling it crisp and interesting, and others are absolutely glued in, and I know they're taking notes. So please.
I speak very fast, so do let me know when I have to slow down. Okay, sure. So let's go. So rather than going into the specifics about how many bands are needed or whether 5.5 is acceptable or 6.5 is needed, right now I'm just giving you a 10,000 feet view of the English proficiency requirements. The first and fundamental thing that we all should know that all these countries, they respect and they accept standard English proficiency exams, whether it's IELTS, whether it's TOEFL, or whether it's PT, Pearson Test of English Academic. The ones that are still coming up, for example, Kaplan has its own test, Cambridge has its own test, then CELPE, Paragon, Kale, multiple other tests. And these countries, they do have their own independent tests originating from their own academic corridors as well. But standard IELTS and TOEFL are acceptable. You can tell your kid to take IELTS and TOEFL, and then they should be fine. So Malaysia, IELTS and TOEFL is acceptable. Norway, IELTS and TOEFL, good. UAE, all good. Ireland, all good. So Japan and South Korea, because the first language is not English, so the universities, they have their own independent assessing mechanisms, and we will discuss that in the academic requirements of these countries. But again, majorly, you will not be at a disadvantage if you have taken IELTS and you want to apply to University of Tokyo. The only thing will be that University of Tokyo will ask you for a Japanese equivalent test, and what that test is, we will discuss about that. So a clear indicator, as we all know, if I ask somebody who is not from international education or who's not day in, day out of this profession, can you tell me two universities in the UK? They'll tell Oxford and Cambridge. If I ask them about the US, they'll say Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Purdue, random names, but these people know about these universities. But then see these countries in the last decade, and I have witnessed this myself working alongside the governments in these countries, that their universities have grown by leaps and bounds in the research component. So if those people who were there at Shulini Retreat, they know it very clearly that one of the fastest way to scale up in any ranking, whether it's Times Higher Education ranking or QS ranking, you must have X number of research citations. You must have X number of patents. You must have X number of research publications. These countries, they have a direct link between industry, academia, and research. So all three are in one line. So if I'm, let's say, boss as a company, and I'm working on developing a new front-loading washing machine, I'm not going to invest in my factory research. I'm going to go to Norway, I'm going to go to South Korea, and I'm going to tell them that this is the problem that you have to solve, and this is the funding, 10 million euros, and your students are going to come up with the solution. And that's how research publications, they get funding across the world. There is a lot of cross collaboration, because I'll not go into the concepts of G20 or G7, but these concepts, the ones that we see purely from political angles, if you deep dive and you work closely with these entities, whether it's G7, G8, G20, SARC, or BRICS, you'll see the academic component follows, because funding from Brazil goes to Russia, goes to India, then China and other countries, they follow, South Africa. So if we see quickly, and it will be quite surprising to you that in the QS rankings, world rankings of 2024, there are 4 Malaysian universities that have made it to the top 500, okay, with the first one at 65 ranks. And sometimes it feels very amazing and we do not pay attention to these things. All of you must have seen multiple times QS rankings, but you would not have paid attention that, okay, Malaysian universities, they are contributing and sitting there, 4 universities out of their 16 universities, quarter of them are under 300. And let's say 246, so let's say under 250. So I have sent students, I've worked closely with University Science Malaysia, University of Malaya, University Technology Malaysia, Putra Malaysia. These universities have massive infrastructures, massive campuses where your students, they will not even feel like that they are studying. From day one, they'll feel like that they are studying in an environment where they are working and they are learning. Okay, so it's the other way around. Okay, let's go. So for Malaysia, very easy, simple. So what I'm going to share with you will be enough information that will help you to filter out who is the right candidate for Malaysia, what is the minimum threshold requirements, and all these requirements, these are minimum threshold requirements. Depending upon a specific program, let's say somebody wants to do pharmacology, there will be certain X number of additional requirements, but the baseline fundamental requirements, they'll remain the same, which I'm going to share on the screen. So for undergraduate, and because Malaysia and the Southeast Asian countries, they follow a Commonwealth education pattern. So anything which is towards the right side of the UK Commonwealth education pattern, your bachelor's is 3 years. Usually your master's is 2 years, with an exception in the UK where your masters are 1 year. So Malaysia follows the same pattern. So your bachelor's are 3 years, your masters are 1 year. If you do a professional bachelor's, it's going to be 4 years. If you do a bachelor's in medicine or engineering, there's going to be an internship component that will take your bachelor's to 4.5 years to 5.5 years. But typically from India, CBSE, ICSE, IGSE, state boards 50 to 60% fundamental basic requirement. Engineering goes to 75 to 80%. And IELTS and TOEFL, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Okay, no other additional tests or no other tantrums. Straight away admission, very simple process. And universities are very helpful. They'll guide you and the student thoroughly through the entire process, and very easy. For postgraduate, let's say you want to apply for Masters of Science in Big Data, Esports, gaming. I love these two subjects, one of the best subjects in the world right now. $100,000 starting salary. Go to Malaysia, study in Malaysia, work in US companies, EA, PlayStation, Sony. CGPA 2.45 on a scale of 4.0. That is 60% fundamental basic requirements, and that's there. Okay. So let's go there. So now we are moving to Norway quickly. So Norway again has a range of universities in the QS ranking. So Malaysia has 4, Norway has 5 universities in the QS 500 rankings. University of Oslo being at rank 58, University of Bergen being at 170. And recently, during my European trip, which Charu mentioned, I met Oxford University, which is in Norway. Again, one of the very strong universities in Norway. And I'll explain about the education system and hierarchical structure in these countries as well. For example, in US, we all know very clearly there are community colleges, there are private universities, there are public universities. So we know if I'm going to a 4-year community college in US, let's say I want to go for a BBA, versus I want to come to a private university for a BBA, versus I want to go to a state university in US for a BBA. What's the difference? Similarly, in these countries, or let's say Norway per se, these differences are also highlighted, that you want to go for a national university or you want to go for a vocational college, and we will discuss that. Norway can be a new country for many here. So academically, they ask for higher percentage in comparison to Malaysia. So typically they start at 70% to 79%. Again, programs can go as high as 95% depending upon your needs for scholarship. Postgraduate, 6.5 CGP or 60% is the threshold that they ask, and then supported by the usual stuff like statement of purpose, recommendation letters, your work experience if you are applying for MBA or executive MBA programs. And one unique thing, they didn't have tuition fees till now, but now they have tuition fees in place. But still, most of the universities, they have not come up with a plan of charging tuition fees. So still, there are chances that a student might get accepted at zero tuition fees and a very nominal enrollment fees, which is probably 200 euros for a year. Now, for specialized master courses, Norway has one very unique requirement, and you can take note of this. The undergraduate degree must be relevant. So what it means is, if you are applying for Masters of Biotechnology, your bachelor's has to be biotechnology. Your bachelor's cannot be, let's say, cellular genetics or any other discipline. For example, BSc Mathematics, applying for MSc Biotechnology, that's going to be a rejection. So it has to be in the same line in which you are applying for a master's. So BTech Civil Engineering, applying for Masters of Civil Engineering, plus minus here and there, depending on the subjects that you have taken, depending on the Faculty of Graduate Studies evaluation, it can be there. But as a thumb rule, as a standard process, it has to be aligned to your bachelor's and standard procedure, work experience, and other stuff. For UAE as well, and again in UAE, the universities that we usually know, and I'm going to comment on that, are usually the branch campuses of foreign universities. UK universities have multiple campuses, Australians have multiple campuses, US have multiple campuses, but UAE's own universities, for example, Khalifa University of Science and Technology, and then NYU's Abu Dhabi campus, United Arab Emirates University, American University campus in Sharjah. They all have featured in the 2024 QS World Rankings universities. So 175 is where UAE starts in the top 500 table. Academic requirements is spread across the national or public universities and then the branch campus universities. But then UAE is very flexible in terms of admission requirements. There are chances that you will get a good, decent program, a decent university, starting at just 50% as well. And obviously the percentage goes up depending. You are applying to University of Birmingham's Dubai campus, or you are applying to De Montfort's Dubai campus, or Curtin University's Dubai campus, or let's say Khalid. Post-graduation again starts at 55% to 60% as an average admission criteria. Standard admission requirements, 3-year bachelor's degree from India, a typical IELTS of 6 to 6.5, and then you will be easily accepted into a master's program. UAE has very high level of generous scholarships. And if you see thoroughly in these universities, and if you request, all kinds of scholarships are available, even the ones that are not even visible on their website. So whether you have a student who comes from economically weaker section of society, who is academically very good, has a very strong skill set, is a very good tennis player, you have to just mention and highlight that fact, and you can request a scholarship. Most of the universities, they are generous enough. For example, right now, University of Birmingham Dubai campus is offering 40% to 60% in scholarship. You won't get that in the UK campus. And the good thing is that your degree does not state your campus. For example, if you graduate from University of Birmingham's Dubai campus, your degree just states University of Birmingham. It does not state that you did at Dubai campus. So at the end of the day, the degree is same. Okay, but you save a lot of money. So for postgraduate education, similarly to Norway, most of the universities, no doubt they're flexible, but they do recommend that your relevant undergraduate degree should be there if you want to apply for a specialized master's program. Ireland, probably one of the most popular destinations here out of...
There was a question, if you're moving on, if you don't mind. It was regarding, is it true that NYU campus is way more competitive than the NYU campus? The NYU New York campus?
So it depends.
NYU representatives to answer that.
I'm happy to take that question.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I'll go. See, Anjali, so when we do this, and I'll quote another example alongside it. So let's say University of Birmingham's Dubai campus. Okay, so when these universities, they come for recruitment, no university will say that the standards are any less than their parent campus or home campus. So even if I'm running a campus in UAE and my home campus is in the UK or US, my academic standards, my compliance standards, my processes, my standard operating procedures, my admission processes, they all are same. Okay. The only thing that is there is flexibility, but that flexibility is not compromised along with the processes. So competitiveness will still remain. Either it's UAE or the main US campus or the UK campus, but then there are multiple avenues to overcome that competitiveness, which might not be available in the US, which might not be available in the UK. Then there are intakes, then there are admission slots, then there are places, then there are scholarships. So when you combine all these factors, you'll say that, okay, getting into the UAE campus might be tougher, might be easier than the main campus. So it's a holistic approach. It's not like one size fits all kind of a answer to this. So it will vary. But then definitely you'll have more choices in UAE, no doubt about that. You're on mute.
I said carry on. Sorry, I was just asking because it was there.
Oh. So Ireland, I'm sure we know these names. So TCD, Trinity College Dublin, UCD, University College Dublin, National University of Ireland, University College Cork, and DCU, Dublin City University. And I'm sure in Ireland you all are aware that since pandemic, there has been a restructuring going on in their academic circle, where most of the university colleges, if I take you 10 years back, so you must have seen institutions like Limerick Institute of Technology, Waterford Institute of Technology, Cork Institute of Technology, Institute of Sligo. So what has happened, or what is now happening? So the Ministry of Education, it is bringing together all these institutions together and combining them into one university. So three institutions come together. They built Southeast Technological University, SETU, which was not even existing 2 years ago. So basically, what is SETU? So SETU is a combination of three university colleges, which we used to know them as independent colleges. So those who are not updated, sometimes what you will come across from your conscious learning, oh, there used to be a Limerick Institute, there used to be a Cork Institute, but that institute might not even exist now, rebranded into a new university. The same thing that has happened in New Zealand, where all the 17 institutes of technology and polytechnics have been combined together into one entity. So the same consolidation is happening in Ireland as well. And Ireland has one very unique, peculiar feature. There is no distinction between public and private tuition fee. So you study at UCD, DCU, and you study at a private institution and a private university, which is none. The tuition fee bracket exact same, which is authorized from the institution or the government or Ministry of Education of Ireland, which is not the case in many other countries. So typically, again, if you want to go to the elite, the best of the best, I'll suggest the upper bandwidth of the percentage, which is 80% to 90%. Average university colleges or typically universities, 60% good enough. You'll get into good programs. Those students who typically do not meet the admission requirements, there are plenty of foundation programs available for those students, and these programs, they last up to 1 year. So if I'm going for BTech Chemical Engineering or Civil Engineering at Trinity, and probably I'm not so good in physics, they'll give me a foundation that will fulfill that deficiency. But do not recommend a Maths 33 with a foundation going into structural engineering or hardcore engineering programs. Postgraduate, very competitive just because of less number of seats and demand and supply ratio. But typically universities ask for 60 to 65%. Now coming to Japan, number 5, one of the highest in the entire bracket. University of Tokyo 5, Kyoto 22, Osaka 65, Tokyo Tech. So there is Caltech, there is Tokyo Tech 91, and then Nagoya 104. Okay, so very high ranked universities from Japan, which are making their strides in the world of international education, just because Indian students are increasing, by the way, in these universities. So Japanese universities, they have a higher bandwidth or a higher threshold of admission requirements in terms of academic acceptance, just because of their programs and the nature of competitiveness in these programs. So 60 to 90%. One new thing that counselors here or people here should know is about EGU. Okay, so EGU stands for Examination for Japanese University. So if I'm a student, I'm from India, I want to apply to University of Tokyo. The University of Tokyo will ask for an EGU, which is basically an entrance test for international students to come to a Japanese university to pursue undergraduate studies. So there are 4 independent tests under EGU. Each test is of 400. So if I am interested to take all 4, my maximum score will be 1600. And let's say if it is under a particular subject, so subjects can be sciences, physics, chemistry, mathematics. University sometimes will ask for a subjective, just like GRE. So GRE subjective, GRE general. Sometimes it will be across the board. So that will be 1600. Otherwise, it's a subject, then 0 to 400. And before somebody asks a question, so there is no fixed criteria of a pass or fail. So there is nothing like 300 is a pass or 200 is a fail or 100 is a pass or 200 is a fail. It depends where you apply. And the university will give you the threshold of acceptance. Valid for 2 years, okay? And everything is available online. For postgraduate, straightforward admission, 55 to 60%, EGU can be there. But now the most important question is understanding of your and knowledge of your Japanese language. So just like we have IELTS and TOEFL for English, the official test for Japanese language is JLPT, so Japanese Language Proficiency Test. You can take it in India. There are multiple centers, very easy. And just like IELTS measures our capability and our knowledge for English, it measures our Japanese proficiency. Some universities ask for it, and it has got levels. So there is a level called as N2, which is usually asked or recommended for those who want to come to Japan for their international education. Understanding and knowledge of Japanese is recommended for your social life. Though, as I mentioned, if you're going to Tokyo, you'll survive in English, but still recommended that you have an N2 level. Then there are institutional language tests. Okay. Some universities, let's say if I'm Kyoto Prefectural University, I might have my own test in lieu of JLPT to test your Japanese skills. So again, you'll have to go through their websites to know more about. But fundamentally, JLPT, EJU, grade 12 results, Japanese university. South Korea, they have Seoul National University, they have Korea University. I recently met in person Korea University, Yonsei University, Pohang, and KAIST. Okay, so Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. So you see the rankings where they have where they stand, and they've been consistently here for years now. So South Korea, it's a lot of Indian students. I meet a lot of students who are interested to go to South Korea. 2 months ago, I hosted a delegation in Gujarat, which came from South Korean universities, which are right now exploring. So Indian South Korea relationships are going very strong in academic direction. So right now, both the governments, they are very positive to build and forge relationships for joint research and development areas in India. So that delegation came in that regard. For undergraduate, 60 to 80%, little less than Japanese, but applicants, so for postgraduate, they must have a recognized bachelor's degree, but no specific. For example, Japanese, they have a specific percentage. South Koreans, they don't have a specific percentage. It varies quite frankly from university to university, and no such thing as like EJU or JLPT, because South Korea, English is fine. For Korean, I'll tell you what is needed. So for Korean, there is a test called as TOPIK. So test of proficiency in Korean. You can take this test in India. It happens multiple times in a year. For example, those who are in Delhi, JNU is a center. There is a center in Chennai. There are centers across India. And then each of these centers, there are multiple seats. So, and if I'm not mistaken, the latest topic happened on 15th, 2 days ago. Okay. Any questions till now?
There are some questions, Avinav. Should we just pause? I think the next slide is a little important. Let's show that slide and then let's pause for a bit and take a couple of questions. Because admission intakes, I think, are something that all counselors need to know. What are the admission intakes for most of these universities or countries, rather?
Yeah. So I'll just quickly click it. See, so Australia, New Zealand, so I'll draw some comparisons before I mention about these. So typically the best method to learn all intakes is, as I mentioned, so the countries to the right and countries to the left. So there are countries which follow the September-January cycle, and then there are countries which follow the Feb-July cycle, okay? So most of these countries, let's say Malaysia or Norway and UAE, they have September intake, but the word that is typically used is not like fall intake or September intake. They just use the word September. That's it. So they do not specify this as a nomenclature. In most of the Malaysian institutions, uh, traditionally non-universities, you can even see monthly intakes, so 12 intakes in a year. It's a very common practice, just like some Singapore private institutions have. Norway is very fixed because the education is funded by government. So it's August. Usually on 3rd August, the classes begin. UAE, top ranked universities, September. But then again, there are some private institutions where you can have monthly intakes. Ireland, September, January, primarily all the undergraduate studies, they begin in September. Most of the master's program, they have a January intake. Japan goes the Germany route. So April, October intakes. South Korea, little different. So 1 month minus from Japan is March. 1 month minus from October is September. So that's the easy way. So these are the typical intakes, very comparable to the prominent destinations, plus minus here and there, but fundamentals remain the same. Yep. I'll just pause and I'll stop sharing and then I'll take some questions.
Yeah, I think one question Shivani Shah had is that she wants to know a little bit more about fintech programs. I'm assuming, Shivani, you want to know what country is better for a fintech program? Is that your question, or you want to unmute?
So fintech programs, I'll definitely recommend. First priority, if I say purely by academic nature, will be Ireland, and if you have to see purely by employment perspectives, then it will be UAE.
Okay, Ireland and then UAE. Excellent. I think Harish had a question, and he says, with Ireland's high inflation environment impact the international student mobility? What do you think, Abhinav? Since you've been following the trends very closely.
So recently, I had an interaction with the Ministry of Education in Ireland, and probably in the next few months, or let's say in the next quarter, we'll see a lot of Irish universities visiting India or delegations. So Ireland is on a target right now. They want to increase their intake from India. So actually, the things I'm specifically talking about India. I'm not talking about South Asia or MENA region as an example, but India. So we'll see a big influx of students. Right now, Ireland is averaging 6,000 students in a year from India. They plan to take it to 7,000 to 8,000 students in a year. So in the next 12 months, there will be an added increase of about 2,000 students from India. That will mean more seating capacity will be opened in these universities in Ireland. So very good opportunity in the next 12 months to pick Ireland as a destination.
I think a couple of them are wanting to know about what work permit. So let's move to that slide, Abhinav, where we actually have defined some work permit like situations, because I think what students also want to know is about return on investment. If I'm studying in a particular country, what are my part-time work options also?
Yes.
So maybe we can move
yeah,
to the next one. We can.
Yeah, going there. So I'll just fly this slide on. So guys, just about these countries, as I mentioned at the start. So all these countries, they do have public universities, they do have national universities, and they do have institutes of technology. Japan is the only country that Japan and South Korea are the only two countries that have a specific word called as national university. So do not get confused between a public and a national. They are two different entities. Both are funded by the government, but their nature is different and the way they operate. So touching base with your financial implications, then the ROI part definitely will come. Most of these countries, they are not directly comparable as such, and do not take low cost as a factor of low quality education. So low cost is there because education is highly subsidized. So for example, in Malaysia, the education is highly subsidized by the government. So you can have a program starting as low as 3,000 US dollars, that 2,40,000 rupees a year, but you are still studying in a QS top 200 ranked university as compared to paying 10 times elsewhere. Okay. So 3,000 to 5,000. In a private, you have 5,000 to 8,000. Norway has been zero till now. There is no fixed figure that what figure will come for public universities. Private is 10,000 to 15,000. UAE branch campuses and the government universities. So branch campuses are the ones which are private. So 10,000 to 15,000 again varies a lot. Postgraduate can be even higher. In Ireland, there is no difference. So if you see, which I mentioned clearly, if you see public universities, private, exact ditto same. So 9,000 to 15,000 for undergrad, and for postgrad 11,000 to 20,000. Japan and South Korea are comparable. Japan is a little bit more economical in by $1,000 in comparison to South Korea. So now part-time work opportunities. We know about the leading destinations. Canada gives a 2-year open postgraduate work permit. UK gives a 2-year open work permit. Australia, you have 3 years, extended to 4 years. If you're going for a doctorate, all the way to 5 years. New Zealand, graduate job search visa. So Ireland, third level graduate scheme. So what are these countries offering? So Malaysia, uh, uh, and combining it with the part-time job options, Malaysia does not allow you work during your study period. So in Malaysia, what you can do is only when you have semester off, and that semester off is more than 7 days, then only you can work, and then you can work 20 hours. Norway, straight away similar to the countries that we are used to, 20 hours during your study, full time during your vacations. UAE, there are dedicated financial free zones in which the labor laws they are not or they are a little bit flexible in sense of that. So you have 20 hours per week. So Ireland has a dedicated list of interim list of eligible programs. Only if your study area and your program is in that list, you are entitled to work part-time. If your program is not in that list, so as a counselor, you must only give an option that is an interim list of eligible programs. Otherwise, the student will not get a permission to work 20 hours during study, 40 hours during vacations. Okay. So Japan, so there is no direct permission to work part-time. What you will have to do, you will have to go to the embassy, you will have to go to the authorities, you will have to obtain a document which is called as permission to engage into an activity which is other than study. So basically, you are telling them that I want to work part-time. They'll give you a official document that will allow you. Before that, you can't work. And then, so their number of hours is quite different. So it's 28. And then during vacations or semester off, it's full-time, 8 hours. So South Korea, same thing. You do not get a default permission to work. You have to seek permission from your academic advisor or immigration officer, and this academic advisor is the one sitting at university. Okay, that I want to work, and if that's approved, seeing your performance, you are allowed to work 20 hours, and during vacations you can work full time. So coming to post-study work opportunities, which I was mentioning earlier, so Malaysia does not have a clear, distinct job search visa. First of all, no. What Malaysia has is employment pass. So if I graduate from a Malaysian university, I must seek employment in a particular area which is aligned to the study field that I have done, and then you get an employment pass EP. And then EP is further divided into 3 categories: EP1, EP2, EP3, depending upon the salary structure at which you are employed. So no direct job search visa, but an employment pass. 2 things. Norway has a job seekers permit. So very good opportunity right now for the students, and it's an open job seekers permit. You are entitled to move anywhere in Norway, Nordic countries, valid for 12 months, find a job, and then you convert your job seekers into a full-time employment visa. You work on an employment visa for 5 years, then your further opportunities open up. UAE, again, as you all know, in UAE, for employment, you must be sponsored by the hiring company or your employer. There is nothing such as independent open job search visa. So UAE offers various opportunities. So you work for an employer. Let's say I get employed by KPMG. KPMG sponsors my employment. I get an employment visa or a permit. Ireland, so just like they have interim list of eligible programs, they have their postgraduate work route is called as third level graduate scheme. It allows you an open visa for the initial 12 months. If you can't find a job or you are facing some difficulties, it can be extended for a further period of 12 months. That's it. You must find a job in these 2 years. And so Japan has a different way of handling job search visas. So they call it as a designated activities visa. Okay. So designated activities visa is initially valid for 12 months or let's say 1 year. It helps you to stay in Japan, find a job, but then there are dedicated areas or designated areas where you have to find a job, whether it's humanitarian area or arts, and then engineering and sciences. And then you mention that as part of your visa application, and then you find a relevant job and get converted into a full-time employment visa. So lastly, South Korea. So you still have employment opportunities and post-study work opportunities here. They have a D10 visa. So D10 is a job seekers visa, which is initially given for 6 months, is extendable to 2 years max. In these 2 years, find a job related to what you have studied. Once you have got a job, you convert your D10 into an E visa, which is a full-time work visa, and then ultimately your further residency and all that portion starts. That's it. All good. Yeah, we come to a conclusion. Thank you, guys. Questions?
Thank you, Avinav. That was a marathon of a number of, I think, myths answered, and I think my favorite line was "low cost does not mean shallow academic rigor," because somewhere we all tend to believe that only if you're studying at some of these popular destinations, whether it's US, Canada, and others, you're getting quality education. But as we all can see, there are these hidden gems of countries and universities that we are missing out on if we are not including them in our counseling and in our sharing with families and students. So I think we have answered pretty much all the questions on the chat box. And if there are any others, we want to stick to the time, but we can take 1 or 2 questions, Avinav. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So maybe
and throw anything.
Please.
Anyone? Any
Yes,
questions?
we can see. So
The information was to the point.
all right, I think everybody's just so this presentation is more to also encourage each one of you to please start researching more, because the world is just like the world is looking at India today. I think the world is also looking at some of these very amazing nations out there, because they have not distracted themselves to many other things, and they have stuck to their basics, I believe, to build a very robust education system. So it's great to just, I think, start and begin your research now, and hopefully we will hear some interesting success stories coming from each one of you. When some of you will share that, you know what, I sent a student to Norway this year, or someone going to South Korea, or any other place. And of course, between Avinav and I, we're very, very happy to also support, since I think I have learned so much with, working on this presentation with Avinav. And so it would be a pleasure to maybe work with some of you and see if we can be adding greater value. And with that, I think we can conclusively say that this comparative analysis that we were wanting to do between countries, whether popular or not so popular, that gets concluded. I think we have the next Tuesday Talkies happening. Anjali, would you like to declare the next dates and the topic for the next day?
Yes.
Anu has a question. Anu has a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Hi, thank you so very much. It was such an educative session. I have one question. Would like to know about the application cycles. Like for US, we begin to send applications while students are yet to finish grade 12, like the October of grade 12. So any of, do we align there, or is it,
so for Japan and South Korea, you align to that. For Malaysia, not mandatorily. For Malaysia, the cycles are quite flexible. So you can see all these cycles, they are directly proportional to the visa processes. So these countries, for example, Malaysia has a very easy visa process. The visa is applied by the university, so the processing time is under a week, sometimes max 10 days. But for Japan and South Korea, a 12-month window is what is recommended. Similarly, in Norway's public universities, a 10 to 12-month window is recommended if you want to go into the top-notch programs. Ireland, you all know about, so there are 2 ways. You apply directly to the university, or you go through the CEO process. CEO has its own deadlines like UCAS, but mostly Irish universities, they now accept direct applications as well. So Ireland can be placed at a 6-month window, but again, some exceptions. And coming to UAE again, for let's say University of Birmingham, Dubai, they typically close their admission cycles 30 to 40 days prior to the intake. So let's say 1 September is the class start, so 15 July will be the deadline.
Right. Thank you, Abhinav.
Yeah. Yes, Anjali. Yeah, can continue.
Yeah. So the next Tuesday Talkies is on the 7th of November. The topic is it's going to be facilitated by Bhakti, our very own co-founder, and the topic would be reimagining university interactions. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Also, if anyone would like to put in a proposal for presenting Tuesday Talkies, the link has already been shared on the members group. Please go ahead and submit it. We look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you for attending the session.
Anjali, may I add a little bit to Bhakti's session?
Yeah.
So that session also, Bhakti has, will be taking it in 2 parts. The first part will be on November 7th, where it will be about, like Anjali mentioned, reimagining university interactions, learning from global best practices. And there will be a part 2, which will be about crafting the ultimate college fair experience. So I would assume, not want to miss any of those 2 parts. So first one is November 7th, the second one is November 21st. And we really look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you all for these lovely comments, and thank you, Abhinav, for sharing space.
All good. No more questions. Are we good?